But what we could also do is make something which basically simulates a working computer in Minecraft, with its own assembly language and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which I think would be a really cool project to do. Hello everyone. I'm Gears.
And I'm Moxvallix, and welcome to the Datapack podcast, episode 3.
Episode 3. Although it feels like more than that because I'm just gonna pull back the curtains for a second. This is like our third or fourth take of this intro, so
Yeah, we've had
I'm
a
really tempted to
couple
say episode
troubles.
7 now.
Feels like it.
Okay. Anyway, today we are going to be talking about Datapack projects that we think would be cool to work on in the future. Whether we actually get round to those projects eventually is I don't know, but just cool ideas for Datapacks that we want to work on. And well, you can steal them if you want to, if you really want to.
Wow.
So I
You would have to
guess we
speak
can
to my
start.
lawyers, of course.
Yeah. They'll be licensed under something that means you have to pay us if you actually make them.
That's right.
No. Okay. So I guess we can start with you, Moxvallix. What are some Datapack projects that you've had ideas for or you want to work on?
Yeah. Okay. So, well, I've spent quite a while now working on pretty much only technical data packs. Basically, since Coda Copper, with the exception of like making a banner pack and like doing little config style packs, I haven't really done any proper like MC function style data pack outside of like technical data packing. And something I've like been intending to do for a while with my friend Wolfian, who actually worked on Code of Copper with us, did the structures and the lore and stuff. Basically been planning to do like an RPG data pack. If the nether's gonna load. So, yeah, basically, we would implement a bunch of spells, make some dungeons, and well, the only problem with the dungeons part is I don't really know how to use Jigsaw in
Oh god,
Datapacks.
don't get me started on jigsaw blocks.
I don't know what it is about them. They're so confusing. I
Oh yeah, yeah. I remember at one point I decided I wanted to try and learn how to use them. And so I looked up a tutorial. There weren't very many good tutorials on jigsaw blocks.
mm,
I think there are better ones now, but anyway, so I looked up a tutorial and I followed it. And it didn't work. I don't know. I couldn't get it to work. So yeah, jigsaw blocks are a confusing thing in Minecraft.
yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So I've actually been interested in making RPG data packs as well. Well, we sort of started to work on one together a while ago, which was actually how we met, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, but that one never really got finished. So yeah, we never actually got round to making the data pack.
Mm.
But I did actually not too long ago um uh try and start work on another data pack, an RPG data pack, because I just felt like working on something that wasn't technical, but I didn't get very far, and um yeah, nothing ever came of it. But yeah, I think that is a good point, that I have also been working on a lot of technical data packs as well.
Mm.
And I think it might be a nice change to work on uh non-technical data pack for a bit. Actually, I mean, I have been working on a data pack, a non-technical one, since since 1.20.5 added some cool things you can do.
Ooh.
But the thing I find with working on non-technical data packs is there's there's sort of two phases I find of making data packs, right? Or making anything really, right? There's the core behavior, and then there is polishing, right? So you just gotta get it working, right? You got your idea, and you just gotta make it, code it so it sort of works.
Mm.
Um, and then afterwards, once you've done that, you gotta make it feel good, right? You gotta make it work. You gotta make it smooth and balanced. Obviously, because in Minecraft, you don't want to have a data pack that's too difficult too too game breaking
Mm.
either. Um, so yeah, I always find that I get the core bit down, right? I have an idea. I'm just like, yep, got that. Okay, that works. Now for the polish bit. And I always find it really hard to polish data packs, because I find it really hard to know what's good and what's like what I should change and stuff.
Yeah. And
So
there's an element to polishing in Datapacks specifically that's just really tedious. Like,
yeah,
uh,
it feels like it's a lot of sort of tweaking numbers and changing things around and just like testing stuff over and over again. And
mm,
I never know what what's the best, because you gotta like play test them a lot.
yeah,
And yeah,
yeah,
I've well, I've always had a lot of respect for people who make like super polished data packs with like really, really well thought out features and balanced and all that kind of stuff, because it is pretty hard.
mm,
So I'm sort of in the polishing side of that data pack now, and um, the amount of time I spend working on it has significantly decreased since I started. Um,
yeah,
but yeah, um, there were the thing is, I find myself often coming up with ideas for data packs that I'm not sure. I always feel like, okay, I want to make an RPG data pack, but I don't have enough good ideas of like things that would actually be in an RPG data pack. So instead, I just make sort of the shell of the RPG data pack, which theoretically could be filled with cool content, but really is sort of just more like a library, really, for an RPG data pack. And I sort of end up getting in like a loop of um, make a library for this really cool thing, but I don't actually have enough ideas to make the cool thing itself. I just have it. I know how to implement it, but I don't know what to implement, if you know what I mean.
mm, yeah,
Um, that's something I find a lot
yeah,
with
like fleshing out the content, I guess, yeah.
yeah,
And it's hard to make it's hard to make nice systems in data packs, like, because there's so much things that are just janky. Like
yeah,
implementing your own spells and stuff can be a really, like, like, it can be hard to make them not just be a couple particles and a status effect. Like you've
Yeah.
really gotta like think hard as to how to make like content in the game that's not just rehashing old content, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Because
Um,
yeah,
yeah, I just find, yeah, I often what I have is I have an idea of something which would be a cool idea, um, but I'm not sure, um, but I'm not sure the specifics of it often. Um, so like I'll know I want to make an RPG data pack and it'd be cool to have like skills which you can evolve from doing stuff. Like the more you mine, you get your mining skills and then you get buffs from that. But that's all I sort of know really, and I don't know the specifics. And often what I end up doing is like starting to implement it and then working out the specifics later.
yeah,
Which maybe is not the best idea because then I find um then I find that I end up getting demotivated because I make the bit which I know I want to make, and then I'm like, yeah, that's it. I don't have any more ideas. Um, so I think definitely something going forward for me when coming up with new data packs um, is to plan them out better before I start. I think.
mm,
Um,
yeah,
uh, and I think that's something that we've learned helps a lot is to plan them out and then make them rather than make them and then plan them.
yeah. Like plan on
Um,
it as you go. I
yeah,
I mean, there's like benefits and drawbacks to each. Like with a plan as you go approach, you can get stuff done quite quickly. Like because obviously you're like, you know, you're doing it as you're working on it. It's very like, oh, I just do this next thing and then I just do this next thing. But
yeah,
it can lead to like in your case where it's like, it's tricky to know, what to work on next, and it
yeah.
can
If you
like,
don't know what else you want to add, yeah,
mm, and it can also lead to it being a little incoherent as well, I guess.
mm,
Um,
yeah,
but yeah, and I'll just say like because I have actually I've started work on some RPG data packs as well. And one thing that always bugs me is like methods of actually casting spells. So like interaction methods. And I mean this has gotten better recently with like the interaction entity and stuff like that. And obviously now
mm,
the food component allowing you to make any item right clickable and stuff like that. But there's
yeah,
still the problem. Okay, the problem with the interaction entity is that to use it, you kind of have to teleport it in front of the player always,
yeah. That's really annoying.
and that
Um,
obviously blocks them from placing blocks and like interacting with things like they would normally in the game. And I mean, you
yeah,
can make it so that it only, only shows up when they've got the correct item in their hand and stuff, but still, it's not great. Um, like we're in this weird spot where it's easy to do right click detection and it's frustrating to do left click detection.
yeah. Well, actually, that's sort of solved by the new enchantment system, sort of.
Yeah, somewhat. Um because yeah, like you can now detect when you left click on a block. But I don't think, does it work in the air? I don't
It
think it
doesn't
works in
work
the
in the
air.
air, no,
Yeah,
no.
which
Yeah,
is annoying. I guess like it works as well for when you hit an entity. So as long as you're actually hitting something. But it's like there's times where you would just like to be able to click in the air and have it affect your spell or whatever. And
yeah.
unfortunately the only way to do that is like an interaction entity or some other entity. Um
Mm-hmm.
yeah. And then the other tricky thing I've found is like uh equipping your spells, I guess. So if you had an RPG data pack and you had a bunch of spells, how do you select which one you want the item to use, right? So imagine you got a wand and it can have like 5 spells in it. That's something tricky I've always like had a bit of trouble with, and I've made systems for it over time. I've made it like you right click it and then it replaces your hotbar with a bunch of options, and then you right click the one you want and then it selects that. But it's just a little unintuitive, I guess. And it's just another
Mm-hmm.
thing that's hard with Datapacks limitations, I guess. Is that it's hard to do UI.
Yeah, UI. Yeah, something I've always really this isn't really a data pack on its own, but I've always wanted to do some like really fancy GUI with data packs and just like make a really nice user interface for something.
Yeah, like a
Um,
chest GUI or like a
yeah, that kind of thing.
yeah. Well, actually, I guess I can talk about a prior project that I've worked on. Is I actually made a GUI library well before
Oh yeah,
um,
yeah.
Code of Copper and all that. Um, and I believe I actually made it for that RPG that we were working on together. I kind of
Mm,
that spurred me on to be like, okay, this needs to be solved. So I made I I don't think anyone else had really done it. I made a data-driven UI library. So basically,
yeah,
instead of hard coding everything, now there was a little bit of hard coding, but it would load it from data storage and then render the library the GUI based on that. Um,
yeah.
and with the advent of like macros and stuff, it's really something I would actually, yeah, that's something I would like to go back to and work on in the future. Is a modern
Mm,
take on my GUI library, like data
yeah,
driven, and like with the end result being maybe making a website that generates these like you design the
yeah,
GUI on
yeah.
the website and then it generates the
Yeah,
like data modify command that you can use with the library, which that would be super cool, I think. Um,
yeah. So I actually, speaking of which, I did actually have some fun with GUIs for my recent data pack, which I'm working on, and I hope to actually finish soon. So I'm not gonna say what the data pack itself is, but I will talk about. Basically, I decided I wanted to make a progress bar in Minecraft,
ooh,
and obviously all since Minecraft is all pixelated and stuff, it's kind
mm,
of hard. But basically, I came up with this idea, right? So I wanted a progress bar which um, basically pretty much smoothly transitions from 0 to 100%, um, and goes from red to green.
yeah,
And so what I came up with was this is something I haven't really done before, but I used leather horse armor
oh,
um, with custom model data, and I basically created a model, or I created a texture for 1 pixel, 2 pixels, 3 pixels, and all the way up to 16 pixels full. And then I used the leather armor because if you don't know this, if you put custom model data on leather horse armor or any kind of leather armor, really, you can dye it and make your texture a different color. So I basically had a custom texture which changed with the dye color. Um,
oh. Also, like the
and
game adds the tint already for you.
yeah, exactly. So you basically draw a grayscale texture and then it changes based on color.
Oh,
And
that's
that was a
cool.
cool thing which I feel like you could do quite a lot with.
Yeah, I've never thought about that. Yeah, that's a cool use of leather horse armor. Um,
Yeah.
this is, I guess, what I
Okay.
really love about data packs is like, there's just like
All the
little
fun, yeah,
hacks and tricks like that you can just. It feels so good to like work that out and be like, oh yeah, I can do that.
yeah.
And like I
It was a
really,
lot of fun to like see the result of that in the
mm, and I love just like like you're sitting you're in bed or you're sitting down somewhere and just like you're like mulling over things in your brain and then suddenly you just have an idea and you're like, I wonder if it works that way, like in a data pack. And then you try it
yeah,
out, and when it does work and you've just like figured out a cool new way of doing a data pack, is like gotta be
yeah.
one of my
That
favorite
is
parts.
one of the best parts of making data packs. Anyway, we went a little off topic there. So let's talk about other projects that we'd like to work on. Okay, so I guess we can talk about something which we've been discussing, for a while, me and you, which is making a virtual machine in Minecraft. So, obviously, we made a programming language, but what we could also do is make something which basically simulates a working computer in Minecraft, with its own assembly language and stuff like that.
Yeah.
um, which I think would be a really cool project to do. I have actually started working on a project like that before, and implemented a basic assembly language in that, uh, and it was a lot of fun, and I think it would be cool to make a fully working thing.
Mm.
Yeah,
I mean, we were even talking about uh maybe implementing RISC-V somewhat, and then I potentially even compiling Linux to it. And like,
yeah,
I mean, it would be super, super, super slow, but
yeah. It would be painfully slow, but it would be pretty cool to run Linux
that would be
in
super
Minecraft.
cool.
Um,
And actually, another
yeah.
another project I've actually wanted to do, which is very related to that, is implement some kind of dynamic display. So something
Mm,
like a basically a monitor in MC function that we would be able to like write to with like display drivers, and
yeah, that would be cool.
and then obviously that would allow us to output, get an output from the thing. And I've thought about different methods. I was thinking about using painting somehow, but the only problem is that the like the amount, because paintings are at minimum 16 by 16 pixels.
Yeah,
The amount of painting variants you would need to be able to dynamically like set each pixel is like super duper high. So
yeah,
unfortunately, because I can't just generate paintings on the fly, I've deemed that unfeasible. But
hmm,
I did have
yeah.
an idea using text displays
Text displays, yeah, and
and a
and
custom
what the
font, even theoretically.
yeah, or just like there's the square Unicode character, isn't there?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. So could use the
which could
square
use as a
Unicode
pixel.
character, or
Um,
um,
yeah,
I haven't played around with fonts really, but I believe there's ways to have fonts render differently based on what characters are around them, which could
hmm,
theoretically, there could be something interesting there. I haven't really looked too far into it, but it's just something
yeah.
that I've
I
like
wonder.
theorized on.
This probably wouldn't be good because you need one entity per pixel, but you could potentially do something with, again, leather horse armor maybe, and dye color, and with item displays, but
Mm,
then you'd need one entity for each pixel for that, so maybe that's not really feasible. That would probably cause too much lag.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I think text display is probably the most viable way to do it. I
Yeah.
would like to look into that at some point and just try and get something working.
Yeah, it would be super cool to have a dynamic display.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, people have done it with like, I've seen, displays done with like, um, particles and stuff. But
Yeah.
that's, uh, it's like particles are very like location specific and hard to deal with. So I'd probably
Particles
rather not.
feel like a nightmare.
Oh, yeah. Um, particles are probably one of the reasons why I don't like polishing data packs. Because they're somewhat
Yeah.
expected, but they're just such a nightmare to use.
Yeah. Okay, so another data pack I've wanted to work on for a while now. And I'm pretty sure I'm gonna make one, and I'm gonna make a video about it and stuff because I think it's gonna be an interesting one. Is I'm going to try and make a working neural network.
Ooh. Yeah, okay.
Training a neural network to do something. Initially, I'm gonna like have like a little like pathfinding thing. Basically, it's gonna be a path, and it's gonna need to learn to navigate it. Basically,
Yeah.
um, and then the thing is though, like if you can, I don't know how far. It's probably gonna be quite slow though, because it requires quite a lot of calculations. But it would be interesting if you could make your own AI in Minecraft and train it, like make a neural network and train it to be whatever you want it to be.
Oh.
Because obviously with data packs and like custom entities, you can't really create your own AI for that, right? But
Yeah.
what if you could create like a neural network and train an entity? I feel like that there would be some cool things you could do with that.
Yeah. Neural
And I
networks
really want to do that at some
in a
point.
data pack would be very cool. Do you have any food, by the way? I'm a little bit on the hungry side.
Not really.
Okay. We might want
Maybe
to,
we should go back for a
yeah,
bit.
consider escaping. Yeah, for those who can't see, we've entered the nether. And we're in a bit of a precarious
Yeah, okay.
scenario.
So, yeah, so I'd like to see how far you can go
Oh,
with a neural network and a data pack and how powerful you could get it. Um I think that would be interesting to see.
yeah.
Um yeah, so other things. So, things that I've wanted to do before is I've sort of wanted to try and just recreate um other data packs or mods that exist and just see what I can do with them, like see if I can manage to figure out how to make that. Um
Yeah.
like yes, sometimes you just see a project and you're like, oh, that's really cool. I wonder how they did that. I wonder if I could do that too. And you can just like come up with a way to yeah, you just try and come up with a way to get that working with like a date, like either porting a mod to a data pack is one thing, or recreating a data pack or something like that. So well, I remember one thing I wanted to do was well, I wanted to make uh well, recreating my own version of world edit was something that I kind of wanted to do at one point. I thought that would be interesting, seeing how much of world edit I could recreate using a data pack.
Yeah.
Um, several people have done this. Recreated a world edit data pack. Also, something I was really fascinated in was the replay mod, and also people have done this as well. Have remade the replay mod with the data pack, with obviously not nearly as many capabilities, but that's a cool thing. Like retracing things that happened. I think is an interesting concept. And yeah, what else? Well, one thing I was started working on a while ago, which I thought was interesting, is a drawing data pack. So you can like draw. It was using particles actually, but you basically draw shapes and it keeps track of what you've drawn and keeps track of what you've drawn, um, and then it basically re-renders it, and you could do stuff like draw a line or just a point or a circle or a square or stuff like that.
Yeah, cool.
But yeah, I never really got around to finishing that. Yeah. What else have you?
Yeah.
Thought been interested in working on before?
Well, that drawing one has actually reminded me. I've always had an idea of like a an input method almost of being like using right click and then you draw a shape or you draw something and then it like performs a task based on what you drew and it like tries to guess what you're trying to do based on the shape, which I feel like would be that's a technical challenge to implement that one.
That's a cool idea. We should do that.
Yeah, it's something I've like always thought it would just be a super cool way of like casting spells and
I
like that
wonder
kind of
if you
thing.
could use a neural network to recognize shapes from that. Probably
Oh,
wouldn't, might not be very efficient, but I think I
no.
have seen something like that before,
Yeah.
where someone made a spell data pack using drawing shapes.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but it's definitely possible. I think it would be interesting
Mm.
to do. I mean, a lot of data pack ideas that I've had have just come from stuff that I've seen somebody else do, not as a data pack, just like as something in a different programming language, right? They made something. I was like, wouldn't it be cool if I could do that, but in Minecraft?
Yeah.
Um, I have that a lot. I'm just like, yeah, what if? Yeah, okay, you can do it pretty easily in whatever programming language, but can you do it easily in Minecraft? I don't think so. So I'm gonna do it anyway.
Yeah.
uh,
That's
okay. Well, another thing,
mm?
um, I thought would be interesting, and again, I've sort of worked on this a bit, and I think I'm gonna make this at some point. Um, is implementing a sort of some sort of internet protocol in a data pack.
Yeah.
So you can have like a server and a client that send data to each other.
Yeah.
I think that would be cool to do something like that with. You could theoretically do quite a lot because as soon as you just have some protocol for sending data from one piece of code to another, you can do a lot of things with that.
Mm.
Yeah. Oh, and on that note, uh, there is something that we've been trying to do for a while is something we've wanted to do is figure out some way to make HTTP requests
Yeah.
with data packs, right? And there is sort of one way to do it, sort of.
Sort of.
But it's I really wish there would be some way to make an HTTP request in a data pack. Because there would be so many cool things you could do with data packs. I feel like so. Um, yeah. So what we figured out. Do you want to explain what we figured out that you can do
Is this the
with the what's it transfer? Yeah.
Yeah. So okay, so basically a new command was added in a recent version. I think 1.20.5 added it basically. Um and basically it allows a server to transfer a player to another server. But
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't necessarily have to be a Minecraft server. It will make the request to just whatever IP address it's given to. So
Yep.
theoretically, given an infinite amount of players on your server, you could use that to send out requests by submitting a player to a particular server with a like let's let's say the server was listening across multiple ports. You could have one port mean like a binary 0, one port be a binary 1, and then theoretically you could keep sending. You could transfer a player to 0, transfer a player to 1, and back and forth. And that would be a way of
Yeah.
communicating data out of the game over the internet.
But you can't really. There's not an easy way of sending data back, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Which is the slightly annoying part. But yeah, so we basically set up a server. We basically just we ran a server and then we used the transfer command and we saw it sends a packet to the server, so you can detect. And you could have a very basic implementation of the Minecraft server protocol, which just simply transfers the player back
Yeah.
straight back to the source server. Although you can't really extrapolate the source server, I don't think. So you might need to hard code it. But yeah, it's technically possible, and it would be kind of cool at some point to um to make something using that. You basically just have a server which pings the player back every time, and then yeah, you can send requests out to do stuff using that.
Yeah. I actually had an
Yeah.
idea as to
Uh-huh.
I'm just gonna pitch this live while we're recording. I had an idea as to how to send data back.
Oh
Let's
yeah.
say you had 2 players that you send out, right?
Yeah.
So as part of the protocol, let's say, is that each request you have to transfer 2 players out. You
Yeah.
could then get back a 0 or 1, let's say,
Based on
based
which
on
player transfers back
which player transfers
first.
back first. Exactly.
Yeah.
So the order of the players can then be the information coming back.
Right.
Which would
How
be
the
very
thing is,
slow,
yeah.
but it theoretically would work.
I think you might be onto something with that. I feel like although doesn't it need to be asynchronous so you can send out data and then I don't know. It would have to work out some more of the specifics, I think, but that would be pretty cool to be able to properly interface with a real any arbitrary server
Mm.
using just Minecraft Datapacks.
Now, the
Yeah.
unfortunate reality behind it, though, is that it has to be running on a server. The server has to be configured to
Mm,
allow Datapacks to have like permission level 4 or something.
yeah.
There's
Yeah,
a
that's
there's a
true.
bunch of unfortunate requirements which
It would
kind
be
of
more
make it
of
not very feasible as
yeah.
a
It would be more of just like a here's a thing that we it's like those you see them sometimes like we managed to do this cool thing,
mm,
but in reality it would never work.
yeah, it's
Like
not practical, but it's feasible. It's like it's actually physically doable. which
Yeah,
I think
it
that's
would
still
be more
quite
like,
cool.
yeah, we did this and we actually got it to sort of work rather than, um, yeah,
Yeah,
here's a data pack and this allows you to interface with HTTP and any data like that. Yeah, that wouldn't work. We couldn't make a library for it. It would just be like a one-time
yeah,
cool thing that we can say we did. But I think there is merit to doing stuff like that. I mean, one thing, you get to post about it on the internet and have people respect you and your technical skills.
which is
Um,
obviously the most important part. Yeah, there's definitely
to learn something, would probably get to learn about the Minecraft server protocol, so we could have enough to transfer the player back. We'd need to, um, yeah, we need to learn about HTTP requests and stuff, and figure out the best way to encode data in, when your transfer method is extremely limited.
mm,
Uh, it would be fun. It would be a fun project to do at some point, I think.
yeah.
There's so many project ideas that we've had that we haven't got around to because we're just working on old projects because they take so long to complete.
Yeah,
And I think maybe we should start doing because one reason why it's taking so long for us to make our projects is because well, every time we want to work on something or add a new feature to something we're working on, we're doing it all together, right? We're what's the term?
pair programming.
Uh pair programming. Yeah, there we go. Um which is good because it means we both get a good understanding of the code base and we both get
Mm,
to discuss everything that we're going to add and make sure that it's exactly as we want it to be. But the downside to that is that um since we live on other sides of the world, and we live, and we have different schedules and live in different time zones and stuff, we don't get to work on our projects at a very fast rate. So I'm wondering if maybe at some point we should just start working on projects separately for a bit,
yeah.
because I feel like we could definitely get stuff done.
I mean, that's what we did for I mean, that's how we got Code of Copper out the um in the like super limited time frame we did. Oops. Well, thus ends me. Sorry, I just fell into lava. That is how we got Code of Copper out in the time we did.
Yeah, if
Um,
we done pair programming for Code of Copper, there's no way we would have
done it in a week. Yeah.
no way we would have done it in 1 week. Yeah, for sure.
And I think
Um,
it's I think there has definitely been merit to our pair programming because I think it definitely increased the quality of the work we were doing. I think
yeah, I think for sure that, and also, yeah, I mean we can spot mistakes. So because obviously when you're programming, um you're gonna make mistakes, and sometimes if you've written some code and there's a mistake in it, it's hard to see that mistake because you just wrote the code with the logic that you came up with. And if you have someone else,
mm,
uh, then they can see the logical errors that you've made, um, and and help you fix them. Uh, yeah. So, but it also means that it is quite slow to develop stuff.
yeah.
So yeah, it would be really nice to work on some of these. Uh, I feel like I've always had a lot of ideas um for data packs. But for some reason right now I just can't think of the specific ones that much. Um yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Um
Maybe
I
here's a good place to end it.
yeah. Well, we may as well we do have something we could tease.
Oh yeah.
This is less a project we've been planning to work on, and a project that we have actually been working on.
Yeah.
Basically, we've got okay, so I'll preface it like this. Over our time working on Datapacks together, we've very much uh, come up with our own style of making Datapacks, and we've also kind of both thought about a lot, like the things, like the pain points in making Datapacks, and the areas of like repetition and like the not so nice parts about making a Datapack. Like, for example, a function has to be a full separate file.
Yeah.
That's
Oh god, that is.
so unwieldy.
Yeah.
And it's just simple stuff like that. That's just like, it just makes making Datapacks just a bit more painful and a bit longer to make. So we've been working on a Datapack preprocessor. So for those that don't know what a preprocessor is, it's a function that basically compiles down to a Datapack. It runs before before the like.
Yeah, it's like a slightly higher level language than data
Yeah.
language into MC function. And it sort of eliminates a lot of the repetitions and a lot of the verbosity, maybe I'll say. And yeah, it allows you to organize your data packs in a much neater way and think less about the specifics of a lot of data pack things in data packs. But we're not going to talk about that today because that would be boring. We're going to talk about it next episode. So, if you want to hear a bit more about that and about our next project, which we're going to use it for, well, we're going to talk about that in the next episode. So, you better subscribe or whatever you do if you're not on YouTube. So yeah, I guess with that we can finish the episode and say goodbye, and we'll see you in the next one. You know what? Bonus clip.
Yep.
Okay, are you recording?
Yep.
Okay, so I bet this is going to happen a bunch after the podcast episode. I'm going to think of all the things which I should have said. But after we finished recording, I just remembered an old project which I'd started working on, which I thought was just a really fun little thing, which is that I was coding in the ability for hoppers to suck up players. So a hopper would, if a player stands on a hopper, they would be sucked into the hopper, and then basically the player would be like in item form, and they basically would follow around wherever the item went, and so you could like sort them into a chest, or you need another player to pick them out of the hopper and place them back down to to be able to do stuff again, which I thought was just a really fun thing, which I unfortunately never really got fully working. But yeah, I thought I'd share that.
That's a great idea. I love it.